Hi, my name is Mary Rankin, and I'd like to welcome you to my presentation titled Diabetes and What It Means to You. Today's presentation is, there are three objectives that I'd like to achieve with this presentation. One would be cognitive. Participants will be able to identify and acknowledge the different types of diabetes and learn important issues about each one. Cognitive participants will be able to identify the risk factors associated with diabetes according to the American Diabetes Association. Effective participants will be able to verbally describe, comprehension-wise, why diabetes matters according to the American Diabetes Association. Diabetes continues to grow at an alarming rate. And I will reveal to the participants of this presentation a chart which reflects the different types of diabetes according to the American Diabetes Association, which includes type 1, type 2, gestational diabetes, and they also have another category called catch-all, which refers to other specific and unusual forms of diabetes, which I was not aware of, but will certainly touch on this presentation today. I will also conduct a lecture and Q&A session regarding the different types of diabetes, and additionally a pamphlet will also be distributed as a quick reference and a re-review for attendees. This will also cover multiple intelligences, which I will use interpersonal intelligence and intrapersonal intelligences. I will go on to cover how diabetes continues to grow at an alarming rate and the quality of life individuals will have who are impacted by diabetes. There are individuals who are also undiagnosed and what the impacts of that can be if you continually ignore those signs. So I will touch on those basically, and how much of an economic burden diabetes is to our insurance, how it impacts all of us insurance-wise due to complications which include blindness, amputation, kidney failure, heart attacks, and strokes. And my main issue for this presentation and my goal for the audience today will be the racial and ethnic groups that are impacted by this disease. As a Hispanic, it's extremely important to me because my family is greatly impacted by this disease, and I don't think we realize, or most of us realize, how we inherit much more than our eyes, our eye color, and our hair color from our family. We also inherit a predisposition of diabetes, a disease that disproportionately affects racial and ethnic minorities. Racial and ethnic minorities defined as American Indians and Alaskan Natives, blacks or African Americans, Hispanics or Latinos, and Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and other Pacific Islanders have a higher prevalence and greater burden of diabetes. Well, our target audience will strictly be, or my target audience will strictly be blacks or African Americans, Hispanics, or Latinos. So I will cover these groups specifically. African Americans, specifically 4.9 million African American adults, or 18.7% of all African Americans who are 20 years of age or older, have diagnosed or undiagnosed diabetes, compared to 7.1% of non-Hispanic white Americans, which is substantial. That's a big difference. In 2006, the African Americans with diabetes were 1.5 times more likely to be hospitalized and 2.3 times more likely to die from diabetes than non-Hispanic whites. So that's an important issue, especially if you fall under these ethnic categories. As far as Latinos, which I am, 11.8% of Hispanic Latino Americans who are 20 years of age or older have been diagnosed with diabetes. The risk of diabetes is 66% higher among Hispanic Latino Americans than among non-Hispanic white Americans. Hispanics are 1.5 times more likely than non-Hispanic whites to die from diabetes. So that's a significant factor based on CDC information. Diabetes can indeed run in the family, meaning that hereditary often makes someone more likely to develop diabetes. And researchers believe that certain genes affecting an immune response can play a role in the development of type 1 diabetes, while genes affecting insulin function can contribute to the development of type 2 diabetes. While African American, Hispanic Americans have a slightly lower rate of type 1 diabetes, they are at a higher risk for type 2 diabetes than the rest of the population. Again, that's a huge factor. Diabetes in Hispanic and Latino Americans, many research think that some African Americans, Hispanic, Latinos inherited a thrifty gene, which helped their ancestors store food energy better during times when food was plentiful to survive during times when food was scarce. So, they are doing a great deal of research. So, this is one of the items that they've come across. It's kind of a feast or famine situation that rarely occurs in our time, but it's something that we've inherited. So, in addition, poverty, lack of access to health care, cultural attitudes, behaviors are barriers to preventative and diabetes management care for some minority Americans. I know it's a huge factor in the Hispanic community because the males tend to have a machismo attitude, meaning that it would be a sign of weakness to ask for help or to get to reach out to someone regarding this disease versus just dealing with it. And a lot of times it has a lot more to do with medication and other factors than just dealing with it. So that's a huge factor. I will go on to summarize and verify that participants understand what is defined as diabetes and the types of diabetes that have been discussed at this point. This will be done by asking participants questions about materials and information provided. Participants will respond orally. Some of my summary or discussion questions will be, what is diabetes to the audience? Because there are different types. How does it affect your community? And how can you prevent it and learn more about it as a result of being predisposed to diabetes? So that will be a Q&A session that will probably take about 15 to 20 minutes so that we can get some clarification. And a lot of times, because of language barriers, Hispanics will not ask questions, so hopefully a little time that has elapsed during the presentation so far will allow them to feel a little bit more comfortable and ask those questions. I would also have someone on hand that speaks Spanish. I speak Spanish, but I'm not medically versed in Spanish for some of the terminology, so it would be great to have someone on hand that could answer their questions as well. I will be using several multiple intelligences as part of this presentation. One would be interpersonal, understanding, interacting with others. A lot of times in ethnic communities, these groups don't want to go outside of their community. So in a community or in a group setting like this, with Hispanics and African Americans in the room, they will need to interact with others, so interpersonal would be a huge factor. Interpersonal is another multiple intelligence that I will be using, and that's understanding one's own interest when they tend to shy away from others. So we will provide literature and information so that they can take those items home and review it and ask questions later. We'll provide them with a number of information, people they can call, so that they will feel a little bit more comfortable reading these items or going home and talking to a family member and reading through these items, and then calling later with questions if they feel the need to, which is my hope, because I think that we will find that a great deal of individuals will probably refrain from asking questions. The other intelligence that I'll use is bodily kinesthetics intelligence, which is using the body or body parts to solve problems. And a lot of times we don't listen to our bodies, and this is my hope that we can teach individuals how to listen to their bodies regarding diabetes. If they're not feeling well, if they get cranky and have not eaten and their insulin levels are dropping, what they can look for, and what foods will help them with that. The other multiple intelligence that will be used is the linguistics intelligence. It involves sensitivity to spoken and written language, the ability to learn languages. Again, that goes back to the language barriers with the Hispanic and African American communities, and that they don't, not necessarily language barriers, but that they don't feel comfortable going outside of their community. So this will certainly allow them to go out of that comfort zone regarding linguistics intelligence and help them feel comfortable in a community setting and talking about these things. Thank you.